Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Welcome to the Game Week 28 preview, where we've obviously got four teams blanking, which is Man City, Arsenal, Aston Villa, and Sheffield United. So please make sure that you're prepared for that, and also be prepared for it to be a Friday night deadline. So make sure you've made your transfers, make sure you're prepared, and make sure you've done it not Saturday morning. You're going to have to do it on Friday, okay? Because we've got Friday night football. So we're going to start with a bit of news. So for the first time, guys, since Game Week 6, I'm inside the top million. Absolute scenes. In the last 4 weeks, we've gone up like a million places. There's 4 green arrows in a row. And I'm just going to keep pressing on. I said when I played that wild card, it's basically since then where this has happened. Always play your wild cards, play your chips when you think it's right and when you feel like your team needs it. And fortunately, it's just worked out so far. So before I go through the team, I also want to say that I'm part of two little competitions. One's called the Red Arrow Cup, which you might see on the right-hand side down here. That's from FPL Clarky and FPL Jord. Basically, they were just having a bit of fun, and they said, okay, I want to get a bunch of people who've been very unlucky this year, not doing very well this year, and the loser wins. And I'm still in that competition, which is really funny because the top score of the game week goes out. So I'm second in the league, but because I don't get the highest score, I'm still just clinging on in there. And if I manage to win that, that's £20. And I've already said that I'll donate that £20 to charity, which would be really nice. And I think a couple of us have said the same thing, which is a really cool thing to do. And the second thing is a person on Twitter called FPL Swede. He's made a Euros where he got 11 people to represent all the countries at the European Championships in football. So if I open up, I'm on Team Scotland. So if you look particularly, and he's averaged it out, he's done a lot of work. So this is, he's called FPL Swede. We're in Group D, as you can see here. And there's 11 people per team, just like 11-side football. And I think it's a really cool thing. He's ranked it as well. So our team, Scotland, we are 22nd out of 24 favorites in terms of our average rank of like 900k. England, you might know a lot of these Twitter handles like Fantasy Football Scout Joe, Ronaldinho, who does some great threads on Twitter. You know, FBI editor, hint, strategy, a lot of big names for that England team. They're the second favourites. Norway, which might not surprise you, they're the favourites. They've got the highest average rank so far. We were against the Czech Republic, and you can see we beat them. Add all the scores together, and the average, so you can see Scotland, we got 58 points, and we beat Czech Republic 56. Again, a lot of these Twitter names you might know. And I was happy to say that I got the second best score for Team Scotland. So we've got England this week. So if you guys are interested in me updating you on this sort of Twitter European FPL Championship, then let me know in the comments below. I'm enjoying it. It's something good. We've got every team has their own chat. So I think that was a nice thing, a cool thing to be involved with. There's a lot of things like this you'll see on Twitter. So follow me on Twitter and also follow a lot of these other accounts. They do good threads, good suggestions, and just good general chat, really. So as long as you can find the right people, the community is a really good one. So getting back to the team, so it was 64 points, which is great. 45 was the average. I didn't take any hits. Like I said, I was hopefully prepared for that. And it was great going into the Liverpool game with Captain Salah, Trent and Robertson. And even though they conceded a couple of goals, they all still returned. Alexander-Arnold doing absolutely amazing again. He's just a seasoned keeper. Robertson, despite not getting a clean sheet, he did pull in an assist. And then Salah getting a goal, and I think it was 1 bonus point. And obviously, no, it was a clean sheet. No, it wasn't a clean sheet. It was a bonus point. And obviously, captain. So Liverpool guys pulling through again. McCarthy with a clean sheet. Unfortunately, not Sheffield United. De Bruyne again. A lot of people are going to be selling De Bruyne because he's blanked and because difficult fixtures. For me, there's just no one really out there to replace him, and he's always got that ability to pull in like a 20-digit haul. Ings, frustrating blank there. Raul Jimenez, he would probably be my just player of the season. I've had him for most of the season because even though he might not always get these 12 or 15 point hauls all the time, just ticks along with goals and assists like all season, and it's just good to always see 5, 6, 7 points basically almost every week. He's a really good player. And another blank for Vardy. We'll talk about Ings and Vardy later on. And that man, Fernandez, a player that I brought in as soon as he transferred before that Wolves game, and then he returned against Chelsea, and then obviously he's massively 14 points there, goal, assist, clean sheet, and 3 bonus in a fantastic performance. And I said it, if you guys go back to the game week when I brought him in, I said, look, at the end of the day, he's a Manchester United player, so if he does anything, just like 1 assist like he did against Chelsea, his price will rise up. So even if you don't fancy him, you'll still make money on him. He's already up now from 8 million to 8.2 million, and that's going to keep going up and up and up, especially since this 14-point haul. The downside for me is he's gone from less than a 1% differential in the first game week, and then it was something like 3% last week, and now he's shot up to 7.4%, and that's just going to keep going up. So the bad side is he's doing great, but the fact that he's not as big a differential makes it worse. But he's still a pretty good differential. He's under 10%, so that's not bad. And then on the bench, Snodgrass, someone that I've kept for this particular game week coming up now, getting some points away at Liverpool, and then the rest was fine. So everything's going on swimmingly. I do have 12 available players for this up-and-coming blank. I'm probably just going to stick with Salah as captaincy. It's just like I said on Twitter. It's like I say all the time. Yes, Mo Salah was captained by, I think, was it the most captain player for the entire season? But he gets points. You're aiming for points. Always captain the player or the person, whoever, who you feel is going to score the most points. Don't captain someone just because, lots of people are going to captain him. He's not a huge differential. It doesn't matter. If you captain them and they haul and you went for this differential that no one else captained, but they get fewer points, it's points that you want. And we'll talk a little bit about Watford and how teams are form-wise when we get to looking forward to game week 28, but I'm likely going to be captain in Salah, and actually vice captain, I don't know why that's changed, vice captain should be Jamie Vardy, someone that I've also kept for this game week. And I have made my one transfer, and it's Adama Traore out, who I've had for a long time. I got him actually just after the Man City game, so I had it for a long time, got a lot of money on him, but I'm sort of backing the Foxes. I'm backing Leicester here to secure Champions League football. And actually, Traore's ownership had shot up to, I think he was the mid 20% mark, 21% ownership. But you can see, I know he usually holds against a big team, but he's not done a lot recently. I know he had his dislocated shoulder. He's been having his minutes managed. Even Wolves went to a 3-5-2, which sort of makes Traore redundant. But for me, again, I'll talk a bit more about Leicester in a moment, but the fact that Leicester's fixtures coming up, and Barnes been a huge differential. He is my differential pick of the week again. I've picked him twice already this season. Difficult to ignore there. So that's probably going to be my team going to this week with Holgate sat on the bench. I was just going to save the transfer and keep hold of Traore, but I wanted to be a little bit more proactive. I've already got a spare sub just in case someone gets dropped. And like I said, I kept Snodgrass. I know West Ham have had some really difficult fixtures, but he's got a home game against Southampton. It's sort of a must-win match there. So I'm quietly confident about this team. I think there's a lot of people out there that don't have 11 players. People who have got double Sheffield United and double Man City, or maybe Aubameyang, Aguero, Kevin De Bruyne, and a Sheffield United defender. A lot of people, or Grealish as well, another popular player that's going to blank. So to have 12 playable people is a pretty good thing to have, I think. And I don't think they look that bad. I don't think even Lascelles at home to Burnley is terrible. Got 2 players against Norwich. So I'm looking forward to the game week, and hopefully we can keep that green arrow, keep going up the ranks, and that'd be fantastic. So having a look back at the players from last week, and it was almost a clean sweep. So Danny Ings, it was a comfortable victory there for Southampton, but unfortunately not anything given from him. A goal from Jimenez, and Liverpool get a big tick, because like I said earlier, you had Salah, you had Mane, you had Robbo, you had Trent. Those 4 players, 4 big assets, the biggest assets that people have from Liverpool, all getting something, which is fantastic. My man, Fernandes, picked him as a differential even before people were thinking of getting rid of the likes of De Bruyne or Heung-min Son. Like I said, I've had him since he transferred to Manchester United, and he massively returned their 14 points. Bolly, clean sheet. I know a lot of people might go Bolly or they might go Saiss. Both great options. Taylor, clean sheet as well. And I put Walker Peters got injured after I made the last video, but Southampton did get a clean sheet. So it was a Southampton clean sheet. And the only one that unfortunately didn't pull in was Danny Ings. So as we go on to the players to look forward to for this game week, and I'll go through the reasons why. So the first one's going to be Jamie Vardy. So he's 9.7 million, 35.7% ownership, which is too bad. So if you've held him or not, for me, it doesn't really matter. I don't think you cannot ignore the fixtures or his personal overall quality. And I think he genuinely could be essential over the next couple of weeks. He did come so close again to scoring, rattled the bottom of the post against Man City. And with other big players from like the likes of Arsenal and Manchester City blanking this game week, and Leicester face Norwich, Villa and Watford in the next 3 games, it looks really difficult to not have Jamie Vardy in your side. I've kept him, and despite no returns, I don't really have any regrets. He's a top player. He still looks hungry. He still looks dangerous. And I would certainly advise getting him into your side at least over the next 3 game weeks before that blank game week 31. And also now his ownership's down to about 35%. It makes him just as attractive as before. I believe he used to be something like 50% ownership, 52% ownership, but 35% is still pretty high, but it's not too bad. And those fixtures really difficult to ignore there. We'll talk more about those teams because they actually are the 3 worst teams at the moment in the Premier League, and I think he's going to find his form again. Next up, we're going to talk about Danny Ings again. 7.1 million, 33.5% ownership. So again, a frustrating blank against Aston Villa, but it shouldn't put people off either keeping hold of Danny Ings or bringing in Danny Ings. The Saints still have a good run of fixtures, especially again with it being a blank for some other teams. And he goes up against a West Ham defense known of it for its fragility of late. And despite West Ham beating Southampton at Southampton in the other fixture, West Ham have gone on a really poor run and they actually sit bottom of the form table, conceding 13 goals in the last 5 games, which is actually the worst defensive record in the Premier League over the last 5 games. So you would be hoping that he's going to pick up something against that Hammers defense. And speaking of form, we've got Liverpool. Again, I know I need to suggest them. It's difficult. You can't ignore them. I just feel like you should have 3 Liverpool players. But we're going to speak a little bit more about Watford here. Watford are second bottom in terms of form over the last 5. So when Pearson came in, it looked like he made a really big change, made them a lot better defensively, but they are second bottom in the last 5 games in terms of form. And a 3-0 loss away at Manchester United will definitely not have done them any favours, and they're still in that relegation battle. So no win, 4 goals scored, only 4 goals scored, and 9 goals conceded over the last 5 games. And they're facing champions in waiting Liverpool, who are just steamrolling their way to the Premier League title with minimum rotation and maximum point efficiency. So last week, I mentioned earlier, Salah, Mane, Trent, Robbo, all picked up some kind of return. So pretty much any of those 4, even Firmino, so you got 5. I wouldn't really, again, go Gomez, Van Dijk as a captain, but Trent, Robbo, Mane, Salah, Firmino, choose one of those. If you captain them, I don't think that's a poor decision because all of them have very good qualities of why you'd want to captain those players. And I still feel that until we start to see some kind of rotation, those Liverpool options are still the best ones to choose in terms of captaincy for this game week. Moving on to differentials, there's a few this week. A couple might catch you off guard here. So the first one probably won't. It's someone I've mentioned, I think, twice already this season. So Harvey Barnes, 6 million, 2.9% ownership. A player I brought in myself for Traore. People might be worried that he was left out against Manchester City, but it was pretty clear that it was a tactical move from Rodgers, who tried a different shape, a different formation to combat Manchester City, especially without Ndidi. A lot of people are worried that Ndidi and Chowdhury was banned, but having that defensive anchor to break up play maybe force that formation change, or just the fact that City are a quality side and they wanted to be a bit more defensive. But I do expect Barnes back and raring to go. Even during that 45 minutes he played against Manchester City. He looked dangerous. He immediately came on and he bombed it down the right side. I think it came off the top of his head and then he ran onto it and, he almost got assist. So he's still looking dangerous. And again, just like Vardy, he faces Norwich, Villa, and Watford in the next 3 games. And they are currently the worst 3 teams in the league in terms of form over the last 5. And even though Leicester have only picked up 1 win over the last 5 games, I do expect I expect the Foxes to fight back, secure that Champions League place. And at 6 million and just under 3% ownership, Barnes seems like a really fantastic option. Next up, Diogo Jota, 6.2 million, 4% ownership. So 5 goals in the last 2 games, of course, including Europa League. Low ownership. Wolves are facing an out-of-form Spurs side before games against Brighton, West Ham, Bournemouth, and Aston Villa. It makes Diogo Jota a really interesting choice, especially because Wolves, I don't believe, blank. They don't have a blank in game week 31, so a lot of people will triple up on Wolves and maybe avoid using a free hit in game week 31. So if that is your plan, I think Jota's a pretty good option. And he is a player who is known to come alive towards the end of the season. He's shown that with 4 goals in the last 5 games. And then obviously the 3 that he scored in the Europa League. And it actually seems as though he thrives in a 3-5-2 formation, which is what they played against Norwich. But even if they go back to their usual 3-4-3 formation, he is still a good option. He's in good form. He does well at the end of a season. And even just against Norwich, he only played 64 minutes. He got 2 goals and he had 4 attempts, with 3 of those attempts coming inside the box. So he is another good option. Especially, I personally went off Dominic Calvert-Lewin and I went to Jimenez. If you don't want to double up on Wolves, or if you've already got Jimenez and you don't want to go Vardy, or you don't want to go Ings because they're too popular, then I think Jota is a very good option. And then finally, last up, Michail Antonio, 6.9 million, 0.7% ownership. And to be honest, this one is a gut feeling and an eye test feeling. I'm not going to back this with XG and XGA and goals imminent or anything like that. It just feels as though he's going to be a good option this week. So hear me out. He's currently a midfielder who's actually being deployed as an out-of-position striker. So, similar to Martial at Manchester United. That is always very attractive in terms of FPL. And whilst I said earlier that West Ham are bottom in terms of form at the moment, it's because of goals conceded, not goals scored. They've actually managed to score 7 goals over the last 5 games, and that's the same amount of goals that Leicester, Wolves, and Southampton have scored, and it's actually more goals than what Manchester City, Chelsea, and Manchester United have scored. So even though they're at the bottom of the form table and they've conceded the most amount of goals, they've still equaled or done better than a lot of the teams in the Premier League. So they are getting goals, just conceding far too many. And despite an improvement in Southampton's defence, I can see West Ham are not just on a poor run, but a very difficult fixture run. So they've just faced Man City away and then Liverpool away. And then they're about to face Arsenal, Wolves, Spurs, and Chelsea. So this week's home game against Southampton is absolutely vital in their bid to stay in the Premier League. And I feel as though Antonio, he looks good, he looks effective, he looks hungry, he looks aggressive when he's playing. It's a home game against Southampton. They really need to win this one. It's a nice fixture surrounded by a lot of difficult fixtures. They need to pick up 3 points here. They've not won in the last 5. They're desperate. They're fighting. They're at home. And I think Antonio, or I personally as well agree, Snodgrass, that's why I kept him in my side. Both of those 2 players I think are pretty good options for game week. So last notes, guys, please remember it's game week 28, so there's 4 teams blanking. It's an early deadline as well, so get that sorted maybe on even a Thursday or Friday morning, and make sure you are ready and prepared for this game week. And hopefully, if you like the content, leave a like, subscribe if you're new. I should be streaming again on Friday around 12 p.m. UK time, 8 p.m. my time, and hopefully I'll see you there, and hopefully you enjoyed the video. I know numbers are down recently, but that's perfectly fine as long as you guys are commenting and enjoying the content, and follow me on Twitter at RobWD90. That'd be fantastic. That's all I want. It's not about numbers for me. It's about having a community and talking about football with you guys. So any like, share, subscribes are always very much appreciated. But guys, it's up to you. Do whatever you want. So hope you have a good one. Hope I'll see you on Friday. And as always, Have a good one, guys.